Today, I want to talk about something that I think quietly controls a lot of our lives. Not in an obvious way, not super loudly, but in the background. This idea that we have to wait until one day to feel ready. Ready to start, ready to speak, ready to change, ready to become who we think we're supposed to be. And for a long time, I believed that too. I thought readiness was something that you arrived at, like a destination. But the more I pay attention to my own mental health, the more I realize that waiting to feel ready has caused me way more pain than fear ever did. And here's what waiting actually looks like in real life. It's doing nothing. It's just thinking constantly, replaying scenarios, practicing conversations that will never happen, and running future outcomes in your head like future simulations. You tell yourself that you're being careful, thoughtful, and responsible, but mentally, what's actually happening inside of you is avoidance. And avoidance is one of anxiety's favorite hiding places. And there's a reason that this feels so heavy. Our brains are wired to avoid uncertainty. Uncertainty registers as danger, even when it isn't. So when you're about to do something that matters to you, your brain asks, what if this goes wrong? What if this changes how people see me? And what if I find out something I don't like about myself? Instead of saying, let's try, your brain just says, let's wait. Because waiting feels safer than risking embarrassment, discomfort, or rejection. But safe doesn't mean healthy. Carl Jung said, neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering. And essentially what he's getting at is when we avoid discomfort we need to experience, it doesn't disappear. It just turns into anxiety, overthinking, self-doubt, and mental exhaustion. So we suffer anyway, just without growth. And we're always told this readiness lie, that confidence comes first, that clarity comes first, that certainty comes first. But almost every single meaningful thing in life usually works in the opposite direction. Clarity comes after action. Confidence comes after experience. And self-trust comes after you can show yourself and prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort. Waiting to feel ready is like waiting to learn how to swim before getting in the water. It just doesn't work. And overthinking tricks you. It feels active, it feels intelligent, and it feels like you're preparing for something. But preparation without action becomes self-punishment. You start measuring yourself against imaginary standards. You delay decisions until they feel right. And mentally, that creates background tension, like you're always behind in your own life. Brené Brown says, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot choose both. That doesn't mean recklessness, it just means honesty. If you choose comfort long enough, anxiety will eventually just fill that space that courage was meant to occupy. And something that I really had to admit to myself was a lot of my fear, it wasn't exactly about failing. It was about finding out who I am. Because once you start, you lose the excuse. If you try and you struggle, you learn something real. And if you try and fail, you just face reality. If you try and succeed, your identity, it's expanded. And identity change can be a little terrifying. Perfectionism, it often gets praised. But psychologically, perfectionism is not high standards. It's fear. It's the belief that being imperfect makes you unworthy of belonging. So you wait, you refine, and you delay. Not because you want excellence or perfectionism, but because you want protection. Psychologist Susan David writes, discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. There is no meaningful life without a little bit of discomfort. There is no growth without vulnerability. And there is no self-respect without action. The whole one-day idea feels hopeful, but mentally it's a trap because one day has no cost, but today does. Today requires courage, today requires risk, and today requires sitting with discomfort. So the mind chooses later, again and again, until later becomes regret. So anxiety, it's not cured by reassurance. It's cured by experience. Your nervous system doesn't learn safety and comfort by logic. It learns safety and comfort from survival. So every time you do something that you're afraid of and you live through it, your brain, it updates its map of the world. It realizes that everything is okay. And that is how readiness is built. Now, a big shift for me was realizing that You don't eliminate fear, you just make room for it. Trying to always feel ready before acting is just trying to eliminate fear, but fear is part of being human. Mark Manson writes, "The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience. And paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience." So you don't need to feel good to start. You just need to accept feeling uncomfortable. So let's redefine what ready actually means. Ready does not mean calm, confident, certain, or fearless. Ready just means that you're willing to try something without guarantee. And that's it. That's the whole entire thing. Now, nobody talks about the true cost of always waiting for the right moment. Waiting, it costs you momentum, self-trust, time, energy, and mental peace. Not because you're weaker, but because the story in your head has grown much, much louder. So if you've been waiting to speak, to try, to change, to begin, or just to show up, I want you to know something. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're just human. But readiness isn't coming to save you. You save yourself by starting scared.